It's been a while since we've made a video like this, where essentially we take an aspect of Marvel Future Fight that we like, and we make a video saying to the devs, please, give us more, I'd like some more, please, and we essentially Oliver Twist ourselves into the contortionist box of begging. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do that, but times 9. We're going to start off with Magic and Mephisto, if that's any spoiler to you guys. And we're going to talk about 9 unique things in MFF, unique character things that I wish they would do more of, that they also do not do a lot of. So this is kind of an important distinction here. It's not just, I'm not choosing things that they already do a lot, like making universal characters strong for PvP. No, that's not on this list, okay, buddy? What I am doing is saying stuff like transformation skills. These are really, really cool, and Marvel Future Fight is in a unique position because it's very easy with all of the visual clutter that already exists in the game to mask the character basically shrinking, which is their version of disappearing. They shrink down very, very small, they swap out the models, and then they grow back to size. And if you slow it down, you can actually see this happening. Maybe not for Mephisto specifically, but for other characters in the past, this is how they've gotten away with this sort of switchery-do. But we have it from Mephisto. I mentioned Mephisto, as you guys know, because of things that are coming soon. Wink, wink. But more recently, they did it for Magic. So this is probably the one that breaks the mold the most of this video. That's why it's at number 9, in that we've had it kind of recently where Magic transforms. It's actually a little annoying because she has to get hit when she transforms. She can't just transform. But my God, is the transformation so sick. Holy shit. This looks so cool. Why don't the devs do this more, man? It's so awesome. Sliding into the more tech side of things, I think a skill that's really underutilized in Marvel Future Fight, but certainly has its place and could really transform certain PvP game modes, in particular fledgling PvP game modes like Alliance Conquest and more recently Otherworld Battle, is the ability to taunt enemies. And to this day, Blue Marvel is still the only character that has it. On Galaxy Explosion, you can see there, he has something called Mockery, which is a debuff that forces enemies to attack the caster. It is a taunt skill. It's like, hey, look at me, I'm your target now. Giving this to characters like Luke Cage, giving this to characters like Captain America, Thing, you know, characters who we know from the comics, from the MCU, from just looking at them, that they should be taking the brunt of the damage. They should be drawing the enemy's fire. It's such a cool effect. It's such a cool idea. It's also just so iconic in an RPG. You have your casters, you have your agile types, whatever, you know, you have your bruisers, and then you have your tanks, right? It's such a quintessential class thing, mechanic thing. It's so obvious to players what's happening, and yet they've only ever done it once. They did it once when they were feeling really brave back in 2021, and since then they've never done it again. They made an entire glossary page for this skill and never gave it to another character. That I find insane. I think this should absolutely exist on at least a dozen characters, at least, and it should certainly be something that players have to contend with. Like, oh, I'm gonna fight this team. You know, they've got a bunch of speed types, so I'm gonna just bring in some combat types. Wait a minute. They have a combat type, Luke Cage or Juggernaut, who reflects physical damage, and he has the taunt ability. Oh, I can't just bring in a physical attacking combat character to take care of those pesky speed types. I gotta think this over. I gotta go, you know, a little bit deeper. For those of you that have played Marvel Future Fight for a long time, you remember skill resetting. Being able to press a skill and have it reset another skill as you're playing. And Luna Snow really pushed this to its limit, but it was actually Doctor Strange that first introduced skill canceling and or skill resetting into Marvel Future Fight, which really pushes the idea of skill canceling to its kind of apex, or its maximum quality, maximum effort. Now, I understand why for both Doctor Strange and Luna, skill resetting was removed. And mainly it's removed because it's really causes a lot of spam. It causes the most strain on players' devices, and it is a very, very high skill cap thing where you're spamming a lot, and it basically, I mean, for some players it could even lead to carpal tunnel. Like, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but at the same time, with how much spamming you do in this game already, it's, you know, understandable that they kind of wanted to reduce that spam a little bit and make it feel a little bit more natural and sort of, you know, 5, 4, 3, 1, 2 or whatever, rather than this furious constant spam for 3 to 5 minutes. That being said, I actually miss skill resetting. I think it's a really cool feature of the game. It shows and it allows players to develop a higher mastery and a higher level degree of control with characters. And if they just limit it to a certain amount of time or a certain number of resets per certain, you know, time limit, then they could, you know, kind of find a happy medium or a happy compromise. So I do hope that skill resetting comes back to Marvel Future Fight in some way, but this one might already be dead for the foreseeable future. What isn't dead for the foreseeable future and was actually added to in the Brave New World update is sort of a skill hold or a skill combo, a single skill combo, where if you just press the 4th skill, or for Rocket, the 1st skill, and I think my game just crashed in this video. That's awesome. As I was saying, with the skill hold, at first glance, if you just press the skill, you're not really going to be very impressed with it. Oh, it's just one punch, Alex? What do you want about? But if you hold the skill, in, you know, Red Hulk's case, it's the 4th skill. In Rocket's case, it's the 1st skill. You actually get a self-contained combo. And this is a really cool idea because, again, it changes the dynamic of how you play the character. If Red Hulk had been good, then you may have certain combos where you hold the 4th skill, and you may have other combos where you forego holding the 4th skill to instead land on the 6th or the 5th or the 3rd or something like that. But it just gives the character an extra dimension of understanding beyond just simply pressing the buttons. Getting into the more technical side of things in Marvel Future Fight, we're still waiting for a new uniform for Namor, but one ability that I hope to see stay on Namor and also added to other characters is this idea of a skill that chucks out a bunch of different projectiles and then actually rewards you for clearing the field, so to speak, before casting it. And what I mean by that is the skill's damage is actually equally divided up among the discs. And so if you have multiple targets, you're going to be able to maybe get rid of all of them at once. Or if you're trying to DPS one target in specific, you're going to notice that when there are a lot of other targets around, you don't deal much damage. On the flip side, if you plan ahead and you open with AoE skills to take out all of the targets and then just have one left, then you'll do more damage. This is in contrast to essentially what is the opposite effect, which is Loki's 5th skill. And with Loki's 5th skill, what you want instead of one target is many targets. And you can see this on his 5th skill, which is pretty notorious. It's pretty bad for ABX/ABL in the sense that it's frustrating. But with 3 targets, we see 3 explosions, and it's pretty cool. But then when we go over here and we get 5 targets, now we see a much bigger explosion, and it deals many more hits. So we go up from, how many hits was on the first 3 hit targets? Up to 572. So you can basically almost double the number of hits from 267 to 572 just by finding yourself 2 more targets because of the overlap. So in one ability, in Namor's case, you're rewarded for using AoE skills first before your sort of single target large number of attacks skill. And with Loki, you're rewarded to not use your AoE skill first, but rather to bunch up your targets and then punish them all at once. In either case, it does give the character a different dimension. It does make you think differently than all the other characters. And again, it's something I think should be in the game. Should it be in like tons of characters? No, but again, I think a handful of characters. This list has 9 different abilities. So if 10 characters from each of these abilities had the ability, you'd have 90, unique characters to play. And then you'd still have whatever, 190 characters that play the normal style, and that still would be the vast majority. Now, one of the deepest cuts in Marvel Future Fight is actually Electro, believe it or not, with one of the rarest and coolest skills in the game. When you press his 3rd skill, you get Accumulation. But you might be looking at the icon in the corner, that yellow icon up there, and thinking it's kind of weird. Is that a boomerang up there? Is that a foot? Well, yeah, it's actually a foot, and it's not because he belongs to the hand or anything like that. It's because he accumulates damage based on distance moved. So as he moves, he accumulates more damage to then increase the damage of his next attack. And when you pair that with his first skill where he dashes, you have a potent combo. But you don't have to play him that way, of course. You can simply just run around. But just the idea that a guy who conducts electricity would then be able to, in sort of like generating static electricity or like running around, creating more points of, you know, contact for the electricity, can then ramp up his damage, is so thematic and so cool. And it so pains me that he's the only character in the game that has this. Accumulates movement distance upon movement. Increases attack for every movement distance proportion to maximum accumulated movement distance. It's a lot of repeated movement distances, but it's so cool. We could have, I mean, we already have increased accumulation based on damage dealt. We have damage taken. We have healing based on damage taken with Jean Grey's third skill. We have, which is not even on this list, by the way, but it's a very cool ability. We have accumulation based on damage based on movement. You could have accumulation based on the number of skills that you press. So pressing the accumulation skill first and then all the other ones would be better. Or you could have accumulation based on how many skills were pressed in the past few seconds. So you have to press everything else and then the accumulation skill last. There's so many different types of accumulation they could do. This one's still the coolest, don't get me wrong, but I just want to point it out and bring it to the attention of the devs and to the players because there's so much room still after 10 years for creativity in Marvel Future Fight. And it still feels like a young man's game. And it's still, not that I'm young, and it still feels like there's so much room for exploration and experimentation. And I really, really hope, if not this year, the next year will be the year that the devs dive in feet first. Our runner-up on the list is Captain Marvel, with a unique ability that we haven't seen in years, and they actually took away from her with the most recent MCU uniform. And it's a very, very cool effect where essentially one of her skills activates and buffs her other skills. So you'll look at it this way. If we go into the practice combo, oh, you can't use practice combo with this old uniform. Anyways, her normal fourth skill is pretty cool. You see she punches around. It's kind of slow, but it looks kind of cool. But if you use binary power to juice her up, now, in addition to the really cool, by the way, the really cool visual representation of this buff, the helmet that she has on, you know, to disguise herself. In addition to that, now her skills are supercharged. So rather than just those weak punches she was doing, her skills now have an additional layer to them. And this is a really, really cool idea. You can see here with the third skill, it's just kind of whatever, right? It's just kind of, yeah, she's just kind of slamming around. But now when you binary power her third skill, she's zipping, she's booming. There's extra hits. You can see it just feels more alive. It feels more engaged. Her second skill as well is huge. It's got this massive plume. And when you don't have the binary power up, the explosions are gone. It's just, it's physical. It has movement to it. It's nice. But when you rip it with the 5-up, look at this. Boom, boom. Huge explosions, jumping the characters up and down, the enemies up and down. It's just so different, man. This is such a sick ability. I can't believe they took it away from Captain Marvel because it makes so much sense for her. It also makes so much sense for a few other characters. But yeah, they just, you know, they're just scared, bro. They're scared to cook with this much sauce because it's just too sick. And finally, my personal top choice for unique MFF effects that we need to see more of: damage based on HP. This one is a little bit more boring. It's a little bit more technical for you RPG fans out there, but I really love it. I think damage based on things other than attack are really cool. You could have damage based on defense. You could have damage based on recovery rate or dodge or so many different things than just attack. And still, you have the vast majority of characters that are going to respect the normality and then sort of like the uniformity of damage based on your attack. It's not like I want this to happen to every character, but if we just had like 4 or 5 characters, you know, or 6 even, 2 for each of the different effects. But even Victorious, they took it away from her. She used to deal damage, oh, she does still deal damage based on HP. Okay, that's good. That's good. I was about to go on a rant that she no longer does. Okay, that's good. They kept it on Victorious. That's good. I thought they took it away from her with her newest uniform. But they could have added it to Red Hulk. They could add it to other characters. It could be such a cool addition to the game. I think there's so many things in this game that still have so much room to run. The runway is miles long, and we've only inched ahead a few centimeters. So yeah, I do urge the devs and encourage the players to dive into the skill glossary and see what you are probably missing, because there's so many things. There's so many different effects in this game, and a lot of them are kind of one and done. And it really is a bit of a shame that they aren't more liberal and more generous with these effects, these skill effects, because they're so cool. They're so cool, and they certainly wouldn't destroy the game or ruin the game or anything like that if, you know, 2 or 3 other characters joined Hulk and Victorious in having their damage scale off their HP, or if Luke Cage and the Thing had their damage scale off of their defense, which is literally their best product, right? That their best feature is how tanky they are. Shout out to my boy Juggernaut. Anyways, guys, that's the video for today. That's what I wanted to put out for you guys. I really am passionate about this game, even after 10 years, and I think there's still so much room to grow. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching the video. We have the patch notes tomorrow and the update tomorrow night. Do not miss it. I will be live here on YouTube. Smash the like button if you're on the content, and I'll see you in the patch notes. Take care.